So I wanted to check back in and finish up this video two-part of building the Jimmy Page 1969 Dragon Telecaster. So I finished it up this weekend, and as you can see, the finished product is right here. So I think it turned out pretty nice, especially since this is my first guitar build and the first time for wiring pickups or installing tuners, at least from scratch. And then there's the back of it. There. So I'll tell you a little bit about it, just so you'll get an idea of how it's all put together. I think on the first video I didn't have the neck. So this is a Warmoth neck. It's their modern vintage line. I got it with an 11 fretboard radius, so it'd be a little bit flatter than the typical Fender fretboard radius. And then installed, these are go-to vintage style locking tuners, so they maintain the original aesthetic of the Jimmy Page Dragon Telecaster, yet at the same time they have the modern functionality of the locking post, and they work really well. I like those. And then I also made sure I got the proper butterfly string tree put on it, which you can see there. And then, although obviously this is not a Fender built guitar, it is a Fender licensed neck by Warmoth. But again, in trying to keep it looking like the original Page Telecaster and not trying to sell this to anybody or pass it off as a Fender guitar, I put on the Fender sticker, which you can see there. One interesting thing about that is I read that the early Telecasters had the sticker where it was visible on the edges. It wasn't buried in the poly or the top coat. And so what I did is I put on 5 coats of wipe-on poly first, and then I put on the sticker, and then I put another 5 coats over the top of that, total of 10 coats on the neck. And that allows you to kind of see that it is in fact a sticker that's placed on there like the vintage style instruments, but at the same time it has 5 coats over the top of it to protect the sticker. I happen to have a spare Fender Custom Shop sticker that I put on the back. The original ones, the $25,000 ones, or the made in New Mexico $1,500 ones don't have any sticker like that. They have the Jimmy Page's signature, I believe. Let's see, what else? This is a stainless steel set of vintage frets on here, and a Tusk white nut. You can see how the paint job turned out. My daughter did the paint job for me. One kind of funny thing here, for those of you who study this stuff, right? So the red goes a little bit too far out to the edge, and that's entirely my fault and not hers, because the picture that I printed off for her to follow off of the Fender website was cut off by the printer right about here, and so it made it look like it went all the way to the edge versus having a little bit of the body natural color right around here. So that's kind of my fault, but overall I think she did an outstanding job on the painting of that. You can see the pick guard, how that turned out. Ultimately, what I wound up doing was using copper foil to shield the neck pickup cavity, the bridge pickup cavity, and the control cavity. So this thing is absolutely dead quiet. Another thing that I did, this is an electro socket, right? So it's not the vintage style. It's actually an output jack, but everybody calls it an input jack. But so it's not the vintage style jack that goes there. And to make it fit properly, I had to flatten this side of the body just a little bit so that it would fit on there nice and flush. So that turned out really well. I think it's very solid. And trying to pay attention a lot to the details. Again, it's not an exact copy, but to the extent that I could follow the details and make it look authentic, I did. The plain Fender metal neck plate here. I noticed on the website that they had the vintage style strap buttons, but no felt underneath it. So I duplicated that as well. I think I mentioned on a previous video the type of bridge plate that it has is both possible for string through, which is how I have it set up right now, as well as loading it from the back. So it's both, you can use it as both a top loader and a behind the back loader on it. Got the vintage style top hat switch. Let's see, what else? The body itself has a dozen coats of wipe-on poly. One thing I did do a little bit different on this one, perhaps in the production lines, I know that their initial one that they put on their webpage for the $25,000 custom shop one uses satin as a finish versus the high gloss, and some of the other ones have the high gloss. I like the satin better, so I wound up using satin poly on this and put 12 coats of satin poly on it after I've grain filled the ash body. So this is an ash body. I probably need to weigh this. I don't know what the exact weight is. It feels lighter than my it's a 1999 or 2000 USA Fender Telecaster. So this one feels a little bit lighter. As far as the sound of it goes, it seems to be a little bit brighter than that particular Telecaster, the way I remember it. But that may be due to a couple of things. The stainless steel frets and the titanium saddles here probably contribute to the amount of zing it's got versus the other one. And also these vintage 64 pickups may be a little bit brighter. And of course it's brand new strings on it, so you know how that goes. You have to play them in 2 or 3 hours before they start sounding right, at least to my ears. On it. Overall, the build, I won't say that it was easy, but I will say that if you're building a guitar like this, where you're just assembling the pieces from a whole bunch of different sources and then hoping it all goes together well, there's probably a lot more time that I spent researching how to do it than actually doing it. So researching how to solder the backs of pots, because I had to wire in the pickups. I probably spent an hour doing that, and it probably took me 5 minutes to solder the pots in, but I wanted to get it done correctly. And then also getting the right tools, right? So to drill all these holes carefully so you don't split any of the wood, I had to get me a good set of drill bits. I had to get me a compact battery-powered drill, which I found on eBay for like 24, 25 bucks. Turned out to be really nice. Had to get wax to make sure that the screws went in without splitting the wood. There's just a bunch of tips out there on how to do it properly. And overall, I think it turned out really, really well. And plugged it in, everything worked perfectly. There were no shorts, there was no buzzing. It doesn't pick up any 60-cycle hum because of the shielding. I can't think of anything that I would do differently in the construction of it. I'm pretty pleased with 12 coats of poly on the back and 10 on the neck. It probably could have gone a few more to thicken it up some. But I don't know that I would have wanted it thick like that. My guess is that when Jimmy Page stripped down the white Telecaster and painted it, my guess is he probably did not polyurethane or lacquer or anything over the top of it. It was probably pretty stripped down and pretty much raw wood. So there you have it. I'm pleased with the way that turned out. Got a gig bag and a white seatbelt strap along the way. And then while I was at it, here's another tip for you. So for my grandson, I built a smaller version, and I kind of had to convert it because this was a strap type body with a humbucker pickup, and I wanted it to look as close as possible to that. So I wound up cutting out the headstock to look more like a Telecaster headstock. Same kind of paint job, but of course the bridge is going to be different, the humbucker is going to be different, the wiring is going to be different. But overall, a good first guitar for him. Since he's only 3, so we'll get him started early, and it matches, I think pretty closely. I don't know if you can see that or not. So there you go. There's the pair right there. And again, since I had a Fender Telecaster sticker, I put on there not that anybody is ever going to mistake this half-size Strat sort of humbucking Telecaster for a factory Fender Telecaster, but it helps it match, and it actually sounds really good. So that's how the construction went, and now I'll pause the video, plug in an amp, and kind of give you an idea real quickly of how it sounds. Okay, so this is kind of how the guitar sounds. It's first off, I haven't warmed it up, so I just have to excuse the playing, but I basically have the guitar running straight into this Marshall Vintage Modern tube amp, and then fairly standard settings on this thing. The detail is set higher than the body, and then the treble is probably on about a little more than halfway. Middle's right at about halfway. Same with the bass. So it's set pretty flat, and the presence is turned up a bit. So I'll go through a few chords first, just to give you kind of an idea how it sounds playing chords, and then just run some very sloppy pentatonic licks because again I'm not warmed up. So, but at least it'll give you an idea of what the guitar kind of sounds like. So let's see, what do we want to do? So that's on the neck pickup. And if we switch it over to the back pickup, or bridge pickup. So that's kind of what it sounds like there, right? So, you know. So that's what it sounds like on just playing some basic bar chords. And then this is the neck pickup, just playing a few simple licks. And then if I throw it over into the bridge pickup, it sounds a little bit different. So that's kind of what it sounds like there. It's got that nice spiky sort of Telecaster bite to it. So you can tell you can play country music with that pretty easily, I think. So anyhow, that's what it sounds like. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments, and I'll try to answer them, although I'm certainly not by any stretch a person who probably should be given advice on how to build guitars, as this is my first one, but it did turn out pretty nicely, I think. All right, thanks a lot.